Welcome back to the shed. Today we're going to go back to 2018 and revisit N.K Jemisin's Broken Earth series in the third and final installment in that series that won the Hugo, Nebula and Locus Award in 2018, The Stone Sky. So what I normally do for these videos is I provide a bit of a plot overview, talk to what I liked, what I didn't like, I'll put them to the memory test, I'll make some recommendations, and then we'll rank it on our ever-growing sci-fi shed ladder, where I've been ranking all the Hugo and Nebula award-winning novels. But tonight I'm going to do things a little bit differently, because there's not really much I can talk to with the plot in this one that hasn't been covered previously in the first two videos that I made on this series. And saying any more, I think, will sort of give spoilers away. Because I think by this point, if you're watching this video, you've already read this series and you're probably heavily invested one way or the other. You most likely love this series and it's the best thing that you've ever read, but I'm afraid to say that that's not my experience. I really didn't care for this series at all, and I'm pretty disappointed that I've had to invest so much time in reviewing these novels, but I'll get to that when I talk to some of the things that particularly stood out for this one. When I do these videos, I always strive to be honest and transparent in my feelings, and I mentioned right from the start that this was one of the first novels that I came across on the Hugo and Nebula award-winning novels in the what was it called, the fifth season, that I did not finish first time round. And I wish some ways that I just had left it at that, because this novel for me was a complete waste. I think all up I've invested 1,300 pages of my time reading through this, and it just was not for me. I gave it everything I had. I really gave it its fair share, and I got through the series, but I just do not understand why this novel has won so many accolades and why it's so well regarded. It is just definitely not one of those novels for me. So I'll put it right out there. I know there are people that really love this novel, and I don't mean to disrespect anyone in giving you my truthful opinions on this, but this is just not one of those novels that sat well with me at all. So when I'm reviewing these novels, I put them all to the same criteria. It's to try to be fair to all the other books on the board. And what I'm looking at is the concept. How strong is the concept? How well executed is that concept? I look at things like the writing. How well written is the novel? Does the writing do anything for me? Does it evoke any kind of feelings for me? And this one definitely did, and I'll talk to some of that. I look at the plot. I look at the characters. I look at the ending. And I also look at how memorable was this novel for me. Now, when it comes to the concept in this novel, there are some interesting things in the series all up, and I've talked to those in my first two reviews of these novels. But for this third book, I'd have to say that there's really nothing new to the concept here, without giving spoilers away. But there's really nothing new in the concept in this novel. So when it comes to concept, look, that heredity and how they can manipulate, you know, Earth and the crust and tectonic plates was interesting for the first 20 pages, but soon after that I found myself completely bored. And having read 1,200 pages now to get to the, well, almost 1,300 pages to get to the point where I'm at now reviewing the trilogy as a whole, I have to say that the concept, I don't know, it got old for me very quickly. When it comes to the execution, particularly for this novel, just didn't do anything for me. I thought it was so wound out. It was so stretched out. It was so boring. I honestly think that the only enjoyable thing that I read in this audiobook was Robin Miles, the narrator. I thought she was a brilliant narrator, and I wish she would review and narrate more novels, because I did really like her characterization, and I thought she was brilliant as a narrator. And that was the only thing that helped keep me engaged with this one. I just found it to drag on, and I just did not care. And which is really sad, because from the very first couple of pages that I read in the fifth season, all the way through to the very last page, I just did not enjoy the writing style at all with N.K Jemisin. And what is it in particular that I didn't like? I just hated that constant switching between first person, second person, third person, second person, and first in present tense, and it was just all over the shop. And I said in my first review of the fifth season is I just didn't like to be introduced into this novel in a second person. You did this and you did that, and I just did not like it. It just did not gel with me, and I'd have to say that was probably one of the critical things that just kept me from enjoying this novel. I just hated that second person present narration. I don't know. If you're looking at the writing style, for me, this novel should be a class on how to not write novels, right? I don't know. It's a pretty strong statement, but to exaggerate, I guess, that I just did not care for the writing in this novel at all. So what about the characters? Can I say anything redeeming about the characters? And again, I'd have to say no. That was one of the things, again, that I just did not like at all in this novel. These characters, but a handful, were just petty, arrogant, obnoxious, boring, foul-mouthed, just annoying people that I've ever come across in any works of literature. I just did not care for Esun or Nesun or any other one of those characters. They were all exactly the same. They were all annoying. They were all, or at least Esun, was just a foul-mouthed, annoying person, and she was wondering why people just didn't gel with her. She was just annoying and unlikable, and as a reader I just could not warm up to the main character, and she features so much in these novels that I just couldn't get around that. The only redeemable character for me was Alistair. He was not Alabaster, I should say. Alabaster, and he was an interesting character, but he sort of dies off in the second novel and he sort of gets mentioned here and there. But he was the only sort of half-interesting character which did not play much part in the second or third books. Again, he was okay. I didn't mind Alabaster. Some of the Stone Eaters were interesting characters, but again, I just could not get over Esun. She was just so annoying, so completely annoying that I just did not want to finish this series. And I've got to say, the only reason I did is because of this channel, because I've set myself this goal to rank and review all these novels, or I would have to say that this would have been a does not finish for me. I mentioned that during the 5th season when I reviewed that novel, that I just found myself thinking, I'm not interested. I don't care what the outcome of this novel is. And I can't believe it that I was like 1,200 pages into this novel, into the audiobook. I was 500 odd pages in, and I was thinking, I could switch this off now and it would not matter. I would not care how this story ended. And I cannot believe that a book that is 1,200 pages in totality had me feeling this way from the very first book to the very last book. How could you write a 1,200 page book and still have me not give a damn about these characters, about how this novel ends? Now I know I may be alone in this, right? But again, I'm being just honest and truthful to myself. It just did not do anything for me this at all, in the characters or the writing. When it comes to the plot in this one, the plot was just not existent. I didn't even give you a plot overview. That's how much I thought the plot was just insignificant. It didn't bring anything new to what we saw in the first and second novel. We still had Esun and Nesun separated, and somehow we knew they were going to get back together to some kind of climatic ending. But the only thing that's interesting, or it's not even interesting, the only thing that's new here is what Father Earth brings to the table, and that was an absolutely ridiculous concept for me. I thought that was absolutely ridiculous. And without saying anything, we have this Father Earth who's somehow sentient, and instead of trying to communicate with man and actually trying to reconcile or reach out to us because we're such insignificant beings, you know, this Father Earth somehow thinks that the best outcome is to just destroy us because he's the sentient and wise one. Ridiculous. I just thought the whole concept was ridiculous, right? So for this particular plot in this Stone Sky, it was just the worst of the 3 novels for me. When it comes to the ending, yeah, whatever. That's pretty much my summary. I didn't care for the ending. I didn't think it was going to end any other way. I don't think there was any particularly exciting moment in this novel. I just thought the ending was whatever. But I will give you this. So when you look at the concept, right, the concept, execution, characters, the writing, the plot, and the ending, they all got absolute zeros when I look at my weighted criteria here. But this book does have one redeeming quality, and that is, it is a very memorable novel, but not for the reasons I think N.K Jemisin would wish. I'll remember this novel as a complete waste of time. I'll remember this novel as a very well-earned placing on the ladder, and we'll look at exactly where that will be in a minute, but I don't think it'll be any surprises. So that would be the only takeaway. It scored extremely high. It got full marks for memorability, but not for the reasons that I think the author intended. Look, that is very harsh criticism, right? I can appreciate that. I can understand that there'll be a lot of people who would just think, oh, you're just a hater. And I'm not. Right, I actually took my time and read these books and listened to these books when I could have been doing something else. So what is there, can I say anything at all redeemable about this series to, freshen things up a bit? I would have to say this. N.K Jemisin does have a very big following, and there are a lot of people who are probably readers today because they stumbled across N.K Jemisin and really enjoyed what she did. And for that I am grateful. I am grateful that there is a book out there for anybody and everybody. And I'm grateful that the N.K Jemisin has got a big market, and she's brought new readers to the genre, which I think is fantastic. And I know that your journeys here, if you read N.K Jemisin and you've loved the Stone Earth, or whatever they're called, the Broken Earth series, you've enjoyed this series. I can only say from my experience, having read fantasy for 30 odd years now, on and off, I'm primarily a science fiction guy. I'd have to say that your journey here is only going to go on the rise, right? There's so many fantastic fantasy novels as there are science fiction novels, probably more so, to be honest. But there are so many great fantasy novels out there that I think you're in for a treat. So for that, I would have to, commend N.K Jemisin. Thank you for bringing new readers to the genre, because I think their journey will only ever increase. And if you are an N.K Jemisin fan and you've come all this way and you're still listening to me, I say thank you. I'm honestly just trying to be transparent and honest. I cannot be any other way. This was not one for me, but I do respect that you enjoyed this novel, and I say congratulations. I'm really happy that you found a book that you enjoy. It was just not my experience, and I think my watchers and the viewers of this show, I expect that from me, for me to be truthful to my convictions. So thank you for sticking around. We're going to flip the cameras around and see exactly where this one lands. So back to the share letter and ranking today's 2018 Hugo, Nebula and Locus Award-winning novel for 2018 in N.K Jemisin's The Stone Sky. Now, if you watch the video, it's probably no surprise that this is going to sit somewhere towards the bottom of the ladder. And at the bottom right now, we have The Fifth Season by N.K Jemisin, the 2016 Hugo Award-winning novel, followed by The Obelisk Gate for 2017, and 2018 The Stone Sky for me. Is it better or worse than those? And I'm going to have to say that for me, this was a terrible ending to a terrible overrated series, and it deserves this place on my sci-fi shed ladder right at the bottom. And I say my sci-fi shed ladder because I know that there are a lot of people who really love this novel, but it just did not do it for me. And I'll take that on board. Maybe I'm just a very bad reader. Maybe I just did not get it. Maybe I missed the whole point of the novel, and that may be completely true, and I respect your opinions for that. But this is my opinion. I just don't think this novel justified its place on the ladder. I honestly don't think that this whole series should have won an award at all, given that there are so many good novels out there. But it is what it is. This is just my opinion. I know that you guys would disagree, at least a lot of you would, and would rate this as one of the top novels of all time. It's just not my experience and not something that I'm prepared to do today. But who knows? Will I read any other N.K Jemisin? Maybe that is the question. Would I ever read an N.K Jemisin novel again? And I would have to answer it like this. I did not finish The Fifth Season. I only started reading it again because I wanted to get through the series. I've struggled my way through the three novels, 1,300 pages. I'm almost resentful that I've invested so much time in that I'm going to have to say I'm never going to read N.K Jemisin again. I am not going to read N.K Jemisin again. Unless, and I hope not, that she wins another Hugo or Nebula one day. That will force me, if I'm still doing this ladder, to review it. But as it stands, unless this author wins another Hugo or Nebula award-winning novel, writes another Hugo or Nebula award-winning novel, there's just no way I'm ever going to revisit N.K Jemisin. But I would love to hear your opinions. Do you reckon that she's written better novels than this? Because if she has, I'd love to hear about it. I'm not going to say I'll read it, but I'll listen to you. I'll consider it. but it would take a lot to have me read it. It would have to be a standalone novel. It would have to be around 200 odd pages for me to give this author, another chance. Hey, bring on the comments. I would love to hear your comments on this one. And I really hope I haven't offended anyone in the process, because, like I said, there are merits to N.K Jemisin. She has brought in a whole lot of new readers, and for that I am grateful. Love to hear your comments as always, and thank you for spending time with me in the shed.